I think I've caught my stepmom cheating on my father. I flew across the country for the funeral of a family member and decided to stay with my father and his wife. We aren't particularly close, and live quite far apart. I've seen him only a few times in the last 5 years. All of my father's children live across the country from him. His wife does not want a relationship with us or our children. She's been around since we were children, and we've had our ups and downs but generally no relationship for the last 8-ish years with any of us. We are all cordial when we see her in person. I've been cordial with her on this visit, hoping for the quick visit that we could all get along without issue. That in itself would make my dad very happy. Unfortunately, I did not rent a car for the visit and had to ride with them each day. Each of the 5 days, I've sat directly behind her and been able to read her messages. They have a small car and I'm not able to fit sitting behind my father. As soon as I arrived, I could read her message thread with someone about how she was dreading me staying with them, and the other person telling her it would be fine. I also saw her messaging someone on IG, no image for the profile and couldn't quite make out the name. Next day, we get in the car and similar situation, but this time on the IG message I can make out a man's name. We'll call him Fred. I try to ignore it. The third day, we go shopping. We stop in a swimsuit store, where she tries on suits. We continue shopping for a while longer. We get in the car, and she sends Fred multiple pictures of her in the suits she tried on. We are in the car another hour or two, and during this time I can see messages of him telling her how sexy she is. I was upset, unsure what to do at this point, but after talking to my husband I decide to stay out of it. It's unclear what's going on, and not enough for me to cause an argument with anyone. The final day of my visit, I again see messages, except this time Fred is telling her things like "It's going to be okay baby" and "You have no faith in me baby." Now she is responding that she is worried about something. It was a long message and I couldn't read the whole thing, and she has all her faith in him. Again, couldn't we the whole thing? I start digging, and find his IG profile easily. From there, I find his FB and can see that stepmom/dad/Fred used to work together. Now, for the advice: is this enough to tell my father, knowing that his wife/children already don't get along and knowing that it may break any relationship that dad/myself have left? I know this would be a deal breaker for me, but I can't tell if it's been physical and I'm honestly not sure if it's enough to share with him. Comment. Tell your dad. Hey dad, who is Fred? He and stepmom have a really inappropriate relationship and I thought you should know. Read their IG DMs if you want to understand. I love you and support you in whatever you want to do. Agree with this post. I know you probably don't want to get it in the middle of it, but you've gotta tell your dad. Since he doesn't have a particularly close relationship with his kids, he could very well come to the defense of his wife and accuse them of trying to break up his relationship. So I don't know. You don't have any real evidence that this is sexual. It could be an intimate friendship. In fact, the way you describe it makes me think of the stereotypical FG/HG dynamic, which is a terrible name for a fairly common kind of relationship. I don't know. Have you seen them in person? Can you gauge how their body language is? Tell your dad. He's your dad. If he knew this about your husband, wouldn't you want him to tell you? It's inappropriate behavior, but something she will dismiss as harmless fun and offer to stop immediately. And she'll never allow you to visit again. Either expose anonymously and let your father do his own research, or hire a PI. Next story 2. AITA for telling my sister she's acting real entitled, expecting her ex to ensure all her kids have the same. My sister was married to Toby for 6 years. They had 2 kids together in that time. My niece is now 9 and my nephew is now 8. They divorced pretty soon after the kids were born. Toby has remained single, but my sister remarried 3 years ago. She has a stepdaughter from her husband's past relationship and they have custody of his niece as well. They also had a baby together 2 months ago. My sister and Toby share custody of their kids. Toby is better off financially than my sister. He pays child support for the kids and he covers all medical expenses per their court order. But Toby can still afford to treat them and buy them stuff they want. According to my sister, they have fancy lunchboxes, whatever that means. They have gaming consoles and laptops at their dad's house. He takes them fun places and can pay for a birthday party wherever they want. He'll also buy them nice clothes and shoes. I never saw the problem with this, but my sister said it caused some tension in their house because the girls are jealous of what her kids have and are jealous of the fact they have much better birthday parties than them. My sister actually told Toby he needs to start ensuring that her other kids have the same things. She said he's making sure their kids together will never bond with their stepsister, step-cousin, and half-brother by making it clear they have more. She told him he also needs to invite those kids to the parties he throws for their kids. Toby told her no and said it was her job to worry about her other kids, but he's not doing a single thing for the rest of her kids. My sister has been pretty ragey since he refused, and she complains about it a lot. Eventually she told me all about it when it was just the two of us, and she mentioned how she wants Toby to basically pay money for the girls and her new son, and that she wants him to buy them gifts and let the kids she shares with him bring the stuff he buys them to her house so everyone can get a use out of them. She said it's selfish for him to not care about the other kids. She claims he has a responsibility. I said she was sounding very entitled with that attitude, and she needs to understand she's responsible for more than 2 kids. But Toby? He only has 2 and is only responsible for those 2. My sister said it's not entitled to expect people to put the kids first. AITA. Comment. Tell your sister that she and her current husband need better jobs if she wants her kids to be spoiled, instead of hounding her ex to financially look after kids that aren't his. And if she continues to try to force this issue, she will be the one driving a wedge between her kids, as the 2 she shares with him will prefer spending more time with him. Stepniece has 2 bio parents, stepchild has a bio mom and dad, and then there's sister. So 5 full-grown blood-related parents can't pull their shit together, but some guy she banged 8 years ago is responsible? The dad doesn't even sound like he's doing anything extraordinary. TBH, gaming consoles, and shoes and birthday parties isn't like he's buying them Givenchy and feeding them caviar covered in gold flakes. Sister can get a second job if she wants more money. Yeah, clearly there's a reason of some sort they don't have custody, but they still exist or existed. So there would be 4 biological grandparents in theory to pick up the role, or siblings or parents' friends. There's a whole web of people in the vicinity of each of the children that bear some level of responsibility, and step-aunt's ex-husband isn't anywhere near the center of that web. Depending on where they live, they're probably getting money from the state for step-niece if nothing else. I mean, let's look at the alternatives. He doesn't pay child support per court order, or does the bare minimum of paying without visitation. So, deadbeat or absent. Yes, it must be galling to Op's sister that he gets to be single and the fun parent. But them's the breaks. And she should be happy that he continues to be engaged with their children. Managing the finances and expectations of a blended family is her problem. She chose to remarry to a man with 2 kids in his custody. That was none of Toby's affair. Plus, unless he's a widower, his biological child presumably has a mother. What is she doing to provide for the child? Are the niece's parents alive and able to contribute at least money? Or was there an abuse situation? Sister is trying to have it both ways. She brought extra kids into the family with the remarriage, and now she's expecting her ex, who has no relationship with these kids, to provide things for them. She's extremely entitled, and she's not helping any of her kids with her attitude. She and her husband need to focus on working to blend their families and prepare kids on how to deal with income inequality. I don't think income inequality is fair or just, but it is a fact of life. I say that having grown up in blended families. And while I always had necessities and some luxuries, both parents' partners' kids got more. My parents provided a united front in be grateful for what you have and work harder if you want more. While life often doesn't work that way, I will say it prepared me for reality. Furthermore, it takes years and hard work on everyone's part to build relationships within a blended family. Expecting insta-family is a surefire route to dysfunction and divorce. Gavin and ex throw money at this isn't going to fix it, even if he was okay with it. Next story 3. AITA for telling my brother I blame him and his wife for their daughter's actions. My brother has 2 kids. His son Jory is 15 and his daughter Emily is 7. Jory's mom died weeks after Emily was born. My brother and Jory's mom were long since divorced, and he primarily lived with her until her death. Jory went through a lot in a very short period of time. Jory's maternal family are a very present part of Jory's life. This was something my brother and his wife disapproved of but allowed because my parents and I told them it was not about them or Emily but about Jory and how he lost his mom. Their attitude did not change, and it did influence Emily somewhat, I believe. She adores Jory and is very jealous that he goes away for hours and sometimes overnight to be with his family. She's jealous that he's not someone who keeps photos but has one of his mom in his room, in a special frame. Mostly she's a little girl who wants her older, half-brother's attention. She thinks he's the greatest person in the world. But sometimes I feel like she hears too much of what her parents think. 2 months ago there was an incident at my brother's house. Jory didn't want to spend time with Emily and was reading a letter his mom wrote to him before she died. Emily pushed and was told to get out of his room. She was angry, and from what I can piece together, my brother and his wife did not talk her down. When Jory left the room, Emily went inside and broke the frame and tore up the photo of Jory's mom. Jory walked in as she was still tearing the photo up. Jory yelled at Emily and Emily cried and said was mad and wanted him to spend time with her, but he picked a letter over her. My brother walks in and tells Jory to stop yelling at his sister and goes to console Emily. Both my brother and his wife decide it's not a big issue. Jory disagrees and they argue. Emily went back to Jory's room later and says she's sorry, but Jory ignores her and she cried and said she just wanted him to not love his mom more. He told her he didn't love her and would always love his mom more and he would never forgive her for what she did, that he did not want her as his sister and she needed to get out of his room and not speak to him again. Things got intense between my brother and Jory left and went to stay with his maternal grandparents. My brother tried to stop him, but his wife said she didn't want Jory around Emily if he was going to be so hateful. Jory is still with his grandparents. My brother thought Jory would have seen sense and calmed down. I said he couldn't expect Jory to see it as a minor issue. My brother was like, I couldn't seriously be blaming a 7-year-old for acting out the way she did. I said no, I blamed him and his wife, that they are the parents and handled it all badly and likely fed into Emily's jealousy with their attitude that Jory shouldn't see his family. I said I hold them accountable for that and then for acting like Jory had no right to be mad. My brother believes I'm the one who is wrong and being an ass to him and his wife. AITA. Comment. Emily doesn't know it yet. But she absolutely destroyed any hint of relationship she might have had with Jory and likely any relationship with his father as well. Tearing up that picture was the equivalent of using a sledgehammer on his mom's headstone. The stepmother might have been sensing that tensions were high enough that it's just yelling now. One incident, probably not, even if it hurt Jory quite a lot. The thing is, it sounds as though Emily has been encouraged in this behavior by both her parents and they both blame Jory for this incident, not her. Unless Emily learns from this in a way that apparently her parents are unwilling to, I doubt there'll be much of a relationship. If it were just the picture, then maybe. But she also told him she didn't want him to love his mom more than her. And yes, she is 7. She doesn't have a lot of context or understanding of why Jory's situation is different from hers, especially given that her parents seem to want Jory to forget about his mom. But there are some words and phrases that you can't unhear. They can permanently change the way you think about someone. It's possible that as Jory grows up, he'll understand that those words were more his dad's fault than Emily's. But even then, I don't know that he's going to feel comfortable having the kind of close sibling relationship that she wants. This is 10,000% the parents' fault, but the way they poisoned Emily and Jory's relationship may not be fixable now. Brother and his wife are infuriating in this situation. They basically drove a wedge between their 2 children by bad-mouthing his first wife's family, and then don't take accountability for the behavior from Emily that this bad-mouthing probably resulted from. They are at fault, yet they put the blame on their other child who is still grieving his mother. I hope you do still see Emily at least privately from time to time and you can try to explain it better for her. If at least one person tries to make her understand how Jory feels, and while you understand she was jealous, what she did was absolutely not right and hurt Jory in a way that he may not forgive her for. That it was like a friend telling her that they wished she loved her mom less and her friend more. Then ripping up a treasured gift from her mom.